So this is an American Scania. It's the first cab-over engine, luxurious footstep. I can just show you the first V8 though,
Yeah.
from 1916.
Oh yeah, V8. Hey everyone, today we are here in Södertälje in Sweden, and we've been lucky enough to be invited for a guided tour through the Scania Museum. So let's take a look inside. Hey, so we are here in Scania Museum with amazing person Ralph Fernandez. Thank you so much for the time. And he's here to talk about the Scania as a brand, the history and everything, right? Can you explain us how it all began?
Yes, of course. We have a long history.
Yeah.
It's actually two companies in the beginning, but here in Södertälje, where the head office and the heart of Scania is today, still, we started with the wagons, rolling stock for the railroad. So it's practically the same like we do today, moving people and moving goods.
Transportation.
Yeah, on the infrastructure that was the new one at that time. And after a while, they started to experiment with doing automobiles.
That one in the back?
Yeah,
Can you
that's
maybe
the
take a
first
look?
one. Yeah, sure.
For this train, you guys created like the whole train or only the chassis or
We did
the
whole
wagon?
wagon.
The whole wagon, okay.
Most of them were cargo wagons, I think, because that was the most demand.
Oh yeah.
So you could imagine like a lot of flatbed trucks on a rail.
Oh,
So a little over 3,000 wagons were made the first 20 years before they closed down the railroad business. And they started to do engines already in 1897. So the first experiment was this automobile,
okay.
or horse carriage without a horse. So they placed the engine in the back. It was sort of an experiment, and it wasn't very good, I would say. They ran it on kerosene, and it was not too powerful. So
Okay.
they changed the technology.
Was it faster than ours back then?
Maybe in the long run,
Okay.
but the fuel didn't last very long.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it was easier with a horse because you could stand by the roadside and let them eat.
True.
That's the fueling the horse. So yeah, it was tricky, just like it is today when you find places to charge your electric vehicle. Same thing back then. The first tanks didn't last very long. The railroad business was closed after 20 years, and then it was all road vehicles.
Okay.
We did also service vehicles for the railroad, and also boat engines. And that was very important in the beginning to develop the engines on a flat surface, because it wasn't problematic if it weighed too much on water, for instance.
Yeah, true.
That could be a big engine with low power.
Yeah.
But the power to weight ratio today is very different. But the experimenting and the testing was important to do on rails and on water. So trolleys, for instance, for servicing the railroad network and stuff, helped to develop the engine powers. And then there was more development on the road, of course.
Yeah. So as you mentioned before, it was actually two companies merging together, right? To create the Scania brand as we know it today.
Exactly. Because already in the beginning, like in 1904, there was the first car race in Sweden. And then there were two competitors, Scania, named Scania already, in Malmö. Because Scania is the Latin name of the province, Skåne, the southern part of Sweden. And then the wagon factory in Södertälje, Vabis. So, and they competed. Scania won, I believe. They had some axle problems here. And in 1911, there was a merge. So they couldn't survive on their own in this small market.
Oh, yeah.
So they had to merge, and they had different competences also. So they sort of made a very good match.
So the part of Scania brand back then, they were doing like the first motorcycles, right? Or bikes and
they
motorcycles?
did bicycles and motorcycles before they started with automobiles. And you can see the pedal crank there. That's the basis of of the brand that you
Yeah,
have
I didn't.
today.
I didn't know that until now or until today that the Scania logo is actually based on that part.
Yeah, on the bicycle
Yeah.
brand.
That's so great.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
These two companies then made the first bus in Sweden, in purpose-built bus, like in 1911. Before that, they have experimented with tram cars and trucks with the seats on them and so on, but they made a real bus in 1911. So that's the start of that era, you could say. And a lot of public customers wanted to have, like the post office, the mail.
Yeah, which is that amazing
Yeah, so
vehicle.
like national customers and local customers from the municipalities. And this is a 1913 delivery truck from the post. And already then, they were very modern, I would say, because they offered service and maintenance contracts, and they also offered driver training. Probably because there weren't so many people who knew how to drive back then, but
Were there any driving license back then? Like you had to
yes,
have one?
you had to have a license, but to be in a professional traffic, of course, needed to have the authorities' license to do it also. But as you see, it was open. You couldn't close it. It's, I mean, very well air conditioned. You could fall down the window.
Was it operating even in the rain and everything?
Yeah, I mean, snow.
Oh.
Sweden, we're talking about cold weather here.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
And it's nice with the wooden boxes and everything around here, and the wooden wheels, steel-clad wooden wheels. And
that's wooden.
I would say
That's so cool.
The biggest problem in this time was to have rubber wheels, air-filled rubber wheels, because that was complicated. And I think the Americans were first with that. For smaller vehicles, that was okay, but it took till 1919 before it was offered for trucks and buses. So you can imagine, it was quite shaky in the beginning, where you had the steel or you had the wood directly to the floor or to the ground. We did automobiles up to the 1920s, and then we stopped. So this is a Scania from 1903.
This is lovely.
It's the first serious.
I like the design. I like the design. It still looks like oil lamps, but it was like headlights.
That's
so
what it
great.
is.
That's so cool.
And they also started to work on the design a little more to be more interesting for people to buy it. But it was a druggist who bought this. So he combined it. It was like a delivery truck, and on Sundays he could take this off.
Oh yeah.
And then put another seat here and take the family to, well, wherever, a picnic. And in the wintertime, yes, you had to have a lot of clothes on. So, but he was very pleased with it. The guy who bought it, he wrote a letter to the factory and said, "I'm very pleased with it, and I like that it's a Swedish make, and it has served me well," before he returned it. And this is the only one left of the 5 made.
So it was like production of 5 in total?
Yeah, they started to make a modular thinking already and tried to do a series production. So, and then came Ford in 1913, and they showed how to do a series. So everybody followed that. But the last automobile we made was this one. We made 2 of these in 1929 actually, but we stopped selling them in 1925.
Were they like custom made, like that someone reached you like, "Hey, I would like you guys build this for me," or?
No, they had standard catalogs also.
Oh, okay.
So you could choose, just like you do today.
Yeah, configure
size of engine maybe, and also configurations in some ways. But this was for the management of the factory. And they didn't want to go and buy a competitor's car.
Of course,
so
of course.
They looked into the warehouse and asked, could you maybe find stuff that can make 2 automobiles? Yeah, and they found what they needed to build 2 of them. And this is the last one standing.
Great.
So this has been renovated from
it looks like new. It looks like new.
Yeah, it looks like new because it's almost new. I can just show you the first V8 though, from 1916.
Oh yeah, V8.
This is a maybe a different V8 than you put in a truck, because this was quite heavy, 1,300 kilos.
Wow.
And if you ran it on spirit, which you could, it was a flexi fuel. You could get 140 horsepower.
140.
Yeah, so yeah, the weight to power ratio may be different, but it was placed inside of a locomotive to run an electrical engine. So this is actually a flexi fuel serial hybrid engine from 1916. So they were experimenting a lot with the biofuels already then, because of the scarcity of getting it here, like oil and gasoline. So a lot of spirit engines were made, but also electrical engines. So moving into the 20s, they had a big development step also in 1925 already, but this is a 27. It's from a local brewery, and they had a new driveline connected with the engine in a better way, and it was lighter, and also the suspension. It was a new invention from Scania, a progressive suspension. It was like completely new. They have these suspension boxes here that was greased, so you had suspension from both sides, so to speak, and then you had rubber tires.
It was very comfortable.
It was like it was like today when we launched the new Super. All these stuffs have been developed in steps, but it really starts in the 1920s, I would say, to focus on comfort and also to make it nice to drive.
And to protect the goods as well, right?
I mean, this is
the glass.
Delicate stuff. You don't want to break the beer bottles. So yeah, so this has been running around in this town delivering beer for decades. What's this then?
According to the lettering on the side, I believe it's again for brewery.
That's true, but the interesting thing maybe is the snub nose here.
Oh yeah, it was the first design?
Yeah, it's the first cab-over engine in the 1930s already. They tried to find ways to maximize the goods space, so they put it forward. But it started actually with the buses, so they adapted it to the truck side as well. It was a little bit hard with the cooling though, so it was very warm to drive this. But it hasn't been running for very long, and they just restored it. So that's why it's here.
I love the attention to the details even back then. This is also great as that's like to warn the others on the road when you were getting the goods back.
It's the indicator, yeah.
It's the indicator?
Yeah. So you just flip the switch and then fling, and then you have this.
You flip the switch somewhere here, and it's just like it was automated.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Getting into more modern stuff.
Heavy duty truck. This was used for mining. This one was used for mining.
It was actually built for road construction in Africa.
In Africa?
Yeah. And we delivered, I'm not sure how many, like 70, I think. A lot of them. And this is the only one who came back to the museum. But it's a very rugged, very rough, as you can see. But it's 110, it's 11 liter engine in those. And that's the successor of this one, you could say. This is a 75. So this is a 7.5 or 8 liter engine. And that's
the first time,
Super.
Yeah, first Super.
Because that was the first year in 1962, or 61 actually, it was launched as the first turbocharged engine. But the name turbo was taken by a competitor. So we named it Super, because it was supercharged. It had such a huge impact. And it's not only the engine that is new here, because they made a new compartment or the cab. It's now more of one piece that is attached to the frame in certain points, which is more suspension. So it gets also safer because the demands are getting higher. And the new alligator hood. So you could have the Super brand in the front here, but it was delivered with a black or a red color between here. But
Was there a difference between that?
no, you can buy it as a separate part also. Then you can have a red or a black one.
But was it tied up for the engine? Like the red one means like it's
No.
this engine, or black one? No?
Just a selection for you.
Okay. Okay.
But most of them wanted to have it in the same color as the rest of the trucks. So
Yeah.
you can see very different colors on these. What's so special about this? This is a Saab Scania,
Yes, that's true.
and it's this big mic here. And it's a Scania also. Confusing, isn't it? What is Big Mike? Who is that? He has a workshop in New Jersey. So this is an American Scania.
This is American Scania.
Yeah, and that's very unusual because
It
we
is.
started in the late 80s. We tried to just present our program, the new modular program, into the US market, which wasn't so easy. But there was one guy who purchased and delivered and serviced. And I think he did that until like 2 years ago or something. So there are still Scanias from this era running around in the US. It was a big thing for Scania because trying to get into the American market, which is very different because they build the trucks in such a different way.
Yeah.
And they had these flat rear mirrors like they still have.
It must have been so unusual to see it on the roads, like
It
in
was,
America. Like,
and cab over engines.
yeah.
But we did have T cabs as well then. Those are probably more popular for Americans, but they've been proven to do their job. So, I mean, they're very scarce on fuel, so they like them like everybody else. It has always been like that. You want to keep the fuel bills down, and you know they have different axle distance. They have different laws. They had 12-volt batteries, like they still have today. So they're traditional in some way, but maybe modern in other ways. There's a really colorful one.
It was like hand paint, right? It
Yes,
looks like
It was. He passed away, but it was a very famous Swedish artist
okay.
living up north for a launch of some sort at that time, and like before the turn of the millennium. And there is also a trailer.
And there was in real life also.
There is one. We have it in storage because it doesn't fit inside here.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the trailer is there. So you can maybe see there's a griffin eye there also.
That's a griffin eye. Okay, I can see it now.
And he did these extremely big paintings, public paintings and so on. So he wanted to do the truck also, and the trailer. So yeah, it's a piece of art, you could say. What do you remember from these, Johan?
The footstep?
Yeah,
Oh,
luxurious footstep.
oh, okay. I can see some awards there. Truck of the Year awards from multiple years, I guess. Oh yeah, I recognize these. We have them in Euro Truck Simulator 2.
Yeah,
2004 was my first launch,
the R series.
R series. And that was something that I was very proud of, and I was amazed about the new truck, and it was really nice.
So you come here often.
Of course,
What is this?
2004, 2005 is the brilliant year, so yeah.
We have another award row that we haven't put up here, but we have it digitally, the Green Truck Award, that we've received now the 6th time in a row, which is, these are not in the row. These are usually connected to a new launch of something that is, and we have long periods of development usually, so it takes maybe 10 years to get a new launch for the new product.
The Green Truck Award is about fuel consumption,
Yes.
so we have keeping it low for many years now.
Exactly, and that's also externally. That's people outside Scania is doing the measurements and the comparisons. With the new Super, it was the sixth time in a row, I think.
That is impressive.
Yeah, it's hard to beat. That's also the first one with air pressure suspension, air pressure brake.
Which one? Which one? The green one?
That one, yeah, the 75. They had a separate system for the front axle and a separate one for the rear.
Can you imagine they're different for the driver also?
Everything was different. And you know, the guy who drove this the last, he came here one summer to the museum and said, "Hello, I'm from Switzerland. Do you have this truck?" And he showed me. So he had tears in his eye because that was his baby for so many years.
Yeah.
And then he had to leave it. And then he went from Switzerland to come to here to watch it again.
That's cool.
It was really touching. Okay, you are better than me on the new stuff. So can you explain what's new with the new Super?
I must tell that already before the customers are so thrilled and so happy with the fuel consumption of our vehicles. But now we're taking it to a new level. The powertrain is really super. And one of the reasons we can really call it super is also that we have put a lot of effort into the new turbo. We have a new engine platform and a new transmission. And this together gets low fuel consumption and also a really, really nice truck to drive. We have a lot of power. So I think most of the people that get into this truck get impressed about the combination. So I'm really thrilled. And we also have a new kind of engine brake that helps out also in some new application. And that is something that I think some customers really appreciate, especially when it comes to high load on the vehicles or something like that. They really, really need to find a new way to develop the truck, a new segment and so on.
How does that engine brake work?
Is
it the retarder you're talking about?
No, it's like
it's the real engine brake.
Yeah. So we don't need to use the retarder in the same way. Of course, if you're driving 64 tons or if you're driving a very hilly environment, then you maybe have the retarding also. But I think for many truck and trailer, like you see here, then I think the CRB is going to be common.
Perfect. That's nice. I heard also that there's been some changes also on the rear axle.
Yeah, we have some new axles, and they also helps out to get low RPM, of course. But in the same time, also they are very fuel efficient, so you also can lower the fuel consumption with help of the axles. It's a great combination.
Super.
Yeah, it is really super. Yeah, now we are really at the Scania kingdom, isn't it? So that's nice to be here. We have the 770 and we have the 590 engine here.
770. I mean, I was telling you previously, like yesterday, we tweeted about that we are here, and the community was already immediately asking for, let's bring the 770 engine in the game. You know, they want to have the powerful stuff.
Of course, when you drive it, you love it. It's such a cool feeling.
Yeah.
So you get really thrilled. You can say that it's flat out Sweden. All the hills is away. It's like a dream to drive it. And also the combination with low fuel consumption. I think that is what we need to do.
Yeah.
If you're launching a new strong engine like the 717, you also have an economic part into it, of course. So if you compare it to the 730, we still have same as low fuel consumption, or maybe even better.
Oh, really? You had like, wow.
So, and if you look into the other new V8s, like a 590, you also get the new transmission to it. And that makes also new possibilities. Today you can have 2 gears that you're actually using when you're driving in 80 kilometers an hour.
Okay.
So you have 1 gear for a little bit higher load and 1 gear when it's a little bit more, what can I say, easy driving for the engine and for the powertrain. So, and that's really cool that we get these new opportunities.
That's awesome.
Saving fuel and the same fantastic performance. If you have a good driver, you have it in your company, that is some way to develop you as a driver, to drive the V8 and have that as your friend, as your tool, as your machine.
As your beauty.
As your beauty, So
that's the beauty?
That's the beauty. And it's a real nice layout here. And I can see it's looking beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's almost pity to not be able to look at it, when driving it. Like,
And from 2017, we don't have any EGR either.
okay.
So it's a really good durability into it as a fleet owner. And in the same time, you have all the knowledge you need to get down the fuel consumption in this V8. And you can also drive it on biodiesel. So the 590
Okay.
is a special version. So that's also good when you talk about the environment, because of course it's important to get this together. And we were also taking another turbo into it than we had before. And that's why we get this beautiful sound of the engine.
Yeah.
If you compare it to a 580,
Yeah.
it was nice, of course,
Yeah.
but you didn't really hear the V8 as much as you want.
Of course. Yeah.
Now you get out the sound in a beautiful way. Not maybe higher, but cleaner.
Okay, so that was it. That was the awesome walk around the Scania Museum. Thank you guys for all your time, for all the amazing information, and we will see you at the next episode.